Welcome to the Returning Raven, Clarity Points for Truth, where we look closer at the yoga you don't know, the one with hidden forms, worldview, sorcery, and philosophy that clouds and deceptively influences culture, church, family, and you. I'm Dr. Alana Arguello. It's time to leave the fog, get out of the gray, and into the light. Join me today at the Clarity Point. Welcome to the Returning Raven, Clarity Points for Truth. I'm your host, Dr. Alana Arguello. Today we will go over a few highlights from Posture, or Chapter 6 of my book, Unearthing Yoga's Ancient Roots, Exposing Sorcery and its Transcultural Reach, available on Amazon. The chapter is titled, Never Be Born Again. A seedling will grow to become what it is designed to be. The cause, the seed, has a purpose, a design, and its produce or results or effects cannot be removed from the source, the efficient cause. The cause purposes the effect. Something that has or is a cause produces effect. The effect then is tied back to or tethered to the cause that produced it. The cause produced the effect because it had intention or design that directed itself to that effect. A different cause produces a different effect. The cause and effect are linked. To the point here, you cannot escape from the seeds of yoga and its original designer, Satan. It will inevitably produce in you his intended, purposed effects. However, here's a twist in the truth of yoga. Anything beyond the intended goal to realize godhood or self-God, all-God, yoga actually and truly separates efficient and final causes. In yoga, the world is illusion, an illusion that manifests as a creative, spontaneous, pointless, divine play. Everything, including you and me, are not from a design or purpose or will, not from a separate creator, nor are we dependent beings on any God or any way. In other words, the God of the Bible that says we are dependent on him for life and that he is the sustainer, as he tells us in Colossians, is untrue in yoga. There is no way to follow after, no purpose to seek. Each is free to create, untethered, toward or away from any truth, toward or away from any particular self-prescribed or perceived God, all within the divine, spontaneous play of yoga. And since you are God, you are untethered from a creator. Therefore, how you see yoga in all its forms and practices are simply various means to the same goal. They are just spontaneous, self-driven, and self-created ways to get you back to the cause, the idea of yoga, of godhood. From the ancient text, the goal is contained within and emerges from the method or practice of yoga. In other words, yoga's definition embodies both the goal and the means created to achieve the goal. They are linked and unable to be divided. So, even if you don't start with the idea of godhood, the means will get you there. No matter if you try oh so hard to bend or change how you practice it, the design of yoga allows you to do this because the results will be the same. You see, Satan doesn't care what you call it. He even encourages you to call it what you want. He doesn't care if you adjust or alter it to fit with your feeling comfortable with it being called a Christian and yet still practicing yoga, because the very practices were designed to get you back to the cause, the source. You excusing yourself by making it how you think might be agreeable within Christianity actually works better for Satan, because then you share it more easily with others in the church. The mask may change, but the thing behind the mask is the same. Something to understand for those excusing or adapting yoga to fit the limits of their conscience is that too is part of the design of yoga. A goal within yoga is to give you discriminative knowledge, meaning to have the ability to judge right and wrong for yourself, to judge truth from your own subjective perspective. So, when you think people think they've appeased and pardoned the pagan out of yoga, they can't. And they've just proved that they've practiced it enough that Satan has his claws deep in them. If this is you, it's time to let it go. Repent and let Jesus set you free. A popular image of yoga is the goddess, the serpent, rising within the trunk of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Yes, yoga actually owns the tree of knowledge of good and evil. More on that later, though. The serpent goddess rises, producing the fruit of her yogis, or those that practice yoga. Yes, if you practice yoga, you are a yogi, or a yogini if you are female. And yes, the true serpent gripping you is that of the goddess. She turns you upside down to grow down and within the earth. In other words, she flips you and produces fruit that is grown down and within the earth. And the text promise, the guarantee that practicing yoga will have you never be born again. Let me say that again. Their text promise, they give a guarantee that if you practice yoga, you will never be born again. Of course, this is within their worldview that the soul is reincarnated or transmigrated to other lives. So the goal is to stop being born again and accept godhood. But it's more than curious when, from a biblical perspective, we know that the serpent, Satan, created and influenced the pagan religions. So perhaps it should be alerting that repeatedly yoga promises those that practice it will never be born again. Wake up, church. The devil is in the details. Thank you for joining me today on The Returning Raven. I'm Dr. Alana Arguello. Please subscribe, like, and share. See you at the next clarity point. Until then, church, choose this day whom you will serve. Please get the pagan worship out and worship in truth. Thank you for joining me today on The Returning Raven. I'm Dr. Alana Arguello. For a closer look again at truth, I'll see you at the next clarity point.